Eight of Swords, second card, the Sun reversed. You may face challenges ahead.
Today is Saturday. You used to love Saturdays because you didn't have to go to work. But I think you liked your job. You never said either way. I'm looking out at the sea from your favorite vantage point, the old pine tree by the rock with a seam of mica cracking it in two. The piece of music you left me is in my lap. Another unsolved mystery. My knowledge of music is next to nothing. I have no chance of answering this riddle. You were always so cautious. I used to think it was because you were a scientist and you had to be careful, but now I know it was because you knew something about Maple Peak. A secret that someone made you disappear for knowing. Your clues are things that you risked everything to tell me about, pointing to some mystery that lurks in the town I've known my entire life. You are brilliant, but I am not. But who can I ask for help? I was searching the town for anything out of the ordinary. But what is ordinary anymore? Anyway, when he found me, a person I could hardly look at, my eyes just kept slipping away from him as if he were hardly real. He said his name was Richard Crane, and that he was a piano instructor. His shop was on Main Street, although I couldn't recall ever seeing it there before. When I told him I had some sheet music that I needed help understanding, he was more than happy to provide assistance. But one question keeps circling in my mind. Can I trust him? They say that everyone in small towns knows each other, but that's a lie. Richard Crane's shop is on Main Street, right next to Caddy Galton's library, a place that I have walked past my entire life. The shop isn't new, so why can't I remember it? Mr. Crane had a lot to say about your music, even from his first glance as if he knew you already. That although you had the mind of a scientist, you had the soul of a composer, an extraordinarily uncommon composer, a very avant-garde composer. His exact words, not mine. Something makes me think that you used to talk about music together. But if you were such good friends, why don't I remember him? In any case, your composition seems to be nothing more than your latest foray into music. One day I hope I can hear you play it. One thing keeps bothering me. The shop. I can barely hold the memory of its location in my mind. It keeps slipping away, like the face of Richard Crane himself, like mist in the morning. Today is Sunday. You used to love Sundays because we could do nothing all day. Just go down to the beach and sink our toes into the sand. I'm looking out at the sea from your second favorite vantage point. The abandoned lobsterman's barn, hung with floats and traps and covered in lichens. The piece of music you left me is in my lap. Another unsolved mystery. My knowledge of music is next to nothing. I have no chance of answering this riddle. I was searching the town for anything that might be useful when he found me. He said his name was Richard Crane, and that he was a piano instructor with a shop on Main Street. I couldn't recall ever seeing it there before, but it stood before me like a shimmering mirage, and the longer I looked at it, the more I remembered. You know how familiar things just fade into the background, I guess. When I told him that I had some sheet music that I needed help understanding, he seemed confused, but agreed to help me nonetheless. One question keeps circling in my mind. Can I trust him? Today is Monday. You were never fond of Mondays, since you always had to go to work early. I don't think anyone can enjoy that. I'm looking out at the sea from your least favorite vantage point. The kitchen, which is the closest you can get to the rocky shore on Mondays. The piece of music you left me is in my lap. Another unsolved mystery. My knowledge of music is next to nothing. I have no chance of answering this riddle. Today is Tuesday. You were indifferent about Tuesdays since you had to go to work, but not particularly early. I am looking out at the sea from your fourth favorite vantage point, the front porch, where the view is slightly obscured by the trees, but not by much. The piece of music you left me is in my lap, another unsolved mystery. Although it's folded and more wrinkled than I remember. My knowledge of music is next to nothing. I have no chance of answering this riddle. Today is Tuesday, but I could have sworn that yesterday was Friday. I must not be sleeping enough. Today is Wednesday, but I know that yesterday was Friday. Who is that man who keeps following me through town? His name is Richard Crane, and he claims to know me. He even claims to know the piece of music that I can't begin to understand, and he thinks he may have discovered the key to its secrets, but everything he says slides off my memory like water off the side of a boat, like he's far away. The exterior of the piano shop is nothing but bare sheetrock and peeling paint, like nobody has ever lived there. I can't help but wonder what happened to Richard. What am I doing in front of this abandoned building? I don't need anything in town. I can't help but feel there's something I've forgotten. But it must have been nothing.
This has been Eight of Swords. The voice of Dakota was Molly Williams. This episode was written and produced by Mia Ferriolo, with music by Parallel Park. Questions, comments? Message me on Twitter at 8 Swords Radio. That's the number 8 and the other words spelled out. Thank you for listening.